You know, next week at this time will be the official premiere of the movie Get On Up. To me anyway, this is a long anticipated biopic of the Godfather, the King of Soul, Mr. Dynamite, the hardest working man in show business, Mr. James Brown. As with a lot of people, I primarily knew about JB for many years due to his two big crossover hits. They get a lot of radio airplay. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag and I Got You, I Feel Good. That all changed in 1998 when, thanks to the BMG Record Club, I managed to pick up the box set, Star Time. 4 CDs of historical James Brown classics. Of course, I've learned since that time that only scratched the surface of the man's musical accomplishments. But I also have a personal history based on listening to James Brown. So as JB himself might have said, listen to the case. When I was 18 years old, a lot of people that I knew were very excited that in a few short years I'd be 21. Why was that? Some family friends at the time were reveling about me getting drunk for the first time. To me, that sounded like a pretty disgusting topic, almost like being commissioner of garbage or something. Also, I wasn't all that interested in any of that. The one thing I was excited about in turning 18 was that I would at last have the right to vote. What was so exciting about that for me? Well, it was hearing James Brown's music and its continual emphasis, stated in many different ways to get up, get into it, and get involved, and not to be a dropout. James might have meant one thing, but stated them in so many different ways that it was so flexible it could imply many different impulses at the same time. I think they call this implicit messages. And I came to greatly admire that about James Brown. As I heard one of his fans say in an interview, James Brown brings out the good in me. One thing I learned myself a couple years ago about myself, having been born in 1980, I qualify as a late-in-the-day member of Generation X. This was a generation that, on many levels, and for many reasons, elected for the most part not to get involved in helping to make the world a better place to live in. James Brown was born in 1933 and is part of what I later learned to be the silent generation. This was the generation that helped jumpstart many of the 60s era revolutions. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, Abby Hoffman, Sly Stone, even most of the Beatles were members of this silent generation. They inspired what the baby boomers did, almost like a big brother, big sister kind of relationship. And James Brown is a powerful example. Several years ago, I knew someone who loved Ray Charles and Otis Redding, people like that, but asked me right out, what exactly was so special about James Brown? Well, I never answered him because the answer is a bit spacious. Basically, what's so special about James Brown is that he was equal time an activist as he was a musician. I mean, he encouraged young black people to vote in national elections, to get an education through his lyrics and political associations. I may not be able to see the movie Get On Up on the day of its premiere, but I look forward to seeing how Chadwick Boseman tackles the iconic musical figure. Along with Viola Davis's James' wife, I appreciate musicians like Jill Scott and Aloe Black were also cast in the film. That's very in keeping with James Brown's vision. So I strongly encourage any of you out there to go and see this film, especially if you have a limited knowledge about James Brown and his importance in history. And remember to celebrate those who brought out the very best qualities in you as a person. See you next time, everybody.